Etosha National Park, the wildlife gem of Namibia. Etosha is an enormous national park. It's bigger, for those who know it, than Kruger National Park in South Africa. And yet, despite its enormous size and the abundance of animals, there is only 6 places to stay inside the national park. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Because there's a few places to stay outside the national park, which you can access the park very easily. But today we're focusing on the Namibian Wildlife Resort's accommodation that is inside the national park. And there is only 6 in the whole park, which is great. It means they're nicely spread out. We're going to start, if you're looking at the map, on the far western side, which is near the Galton Gate towards Damaraland and the Skeleton Coast area. You have the first camp you come to if you enter from the western Galton Gate is Dolomite Resort, which has only got chalets. There's no camping there. There's no self-catering facility. There's chalets only. And it was the first and only accommodated camp on the western side of the park. Now, the whole western side of the park, up until a few years ago, was completely restricted to tour operators only, but then got opened up and they put 2 new camps in, Dolomite being one of them. Dolomite is an eco-friendly semi-luxury lodge. It's a permanent tented camp on wooden decks, set on a Dolomite peninsula overlooking the Dolomite Point waterhole. It's an excellent area of the park to do game viewing. A lot of people didn't know about it because it was obviously difficult to go over there, but more and more people are discovering that not only is it quieter from driving around, there's less people there, less accommodation, more difficult to access, but there is a lot of beautiful waterholes and a lot of animals in that area. Dolomite Camp itself, as I say, is on a Dolomite Point, and all the chalets are individually spaced to either side of the point, some looking east, some looking west, so some are sunset facing, some are sunrise facing, all overlooking the plains around. The accommodation itself, it is very nice. It's not aircon, it's an eco-friendly, but they do have fans. It's also set up on this point, so you can open the deck, open the doors, and although it's not a fenced camp, and that is something to note, Dolomite and Onkoshi on the far side are the only 2 tents inside Etosha that are not fenced, but the balconies are raised up on these wooden decks so you can actually safely leave the doors open and get a breeze coming in at night. However, got to be careful of mosquitoes, but there's mosquito nets around the beds. They have their own bathroom, shower. Water is heated by solar per chalet. Electricity is provided 24/7. There's a little mini fridge which you can put your own drinks in, power points for charging, all the normal luxuries. There's a place to hang your clothes, charge your batteries, a desk to sit at if you want to do some work, beautiful chairs on a little balcony that looks out over the plains. And that's the actual rooms. You have to walk to the rooms individually. So Dolomite has a little bit of an unusual setup for Etosha camps because you can't drive to the rooms. You can't actually drive to the actual lodge. You have to drive to the bottom of the hill where there's a parking area. You then unload your bags from the parking area onto a little buggy that then drives up to reception. It drops you off at reception and you go into reception and check in, get your key, told which room you're going to stay in, they introduce you to the other things, which we'll come to shortly. Then you go round the other side and the buggy's gone round with your bags, picks you up there, takes you up a small little path, winding its way up. It's not a steep path, but it goes up and down a little bit. And then it drops you to the walkway at the end of the chalet. Then you walk down the path into your actual chalet. So that means the chalets are nice and private and beautifully quiet because there's no vehicles up there apart from the little buggy going backwards and forwards. And people don't walk up and down too much because it's quite a long walk because they've spread out the lodge along this Dolomite Peninsula. So I like it, but you've got to be prepared for a little bit of walking. But it means that Dolomite Resort itself is nice and quiet. The chalet is a beautiful quiet. And no lights in the area, so the night sky, when you sit on your veranda, grab a drink, look at the sky, absolutely spectacular. At the lodge itself, there is a restaurant, which they've actually split into 2 areas. So there's not one big room where all the guests go. There's 2 little larpers where you can eat, so they keep them quite intimate and small. The food is cooked on site, nice quality food, tastes really good. Well, all the food I had tasted great. Good, and then there's a separate bar selection as well, so a good selection of drinks. Then they've got a little quiet area which is set up at the highest point of the Dolomite Point, which catches a nice cross breeze during the day. So during the midday you can sit up there, there's some comfy chairs to sit at, great views and a little bit of a breeze to escape the heat of the day. And they have a swimming pool as well. And the swimming pool also looks out over the plain, so that's really beautiful to dip in the pool in the heat of the day, have a little sunbathe and enjoy the view while you're in between game drives, wash that dust off. I think that's something. Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi and internet. There's no Wi-Fi and internet in the chalets, but it does work around the reception, bar and restaurant area and a bit of the pool area. It's free. They give the code to you on reception or it's pinned on the wall. It's not super fast. You're in the middle of pretty much nowhere. You're in Etosha National Park, far away from anything. So you could send messages, you maybe check your social media, but you're not going to watch a video or have a video conversation. But the Wi-Fi is there to get messages. Very handy. So that's Dolomite Camp. Pros of Dolomite Camp: it's very quiet, not many guests there, the food is nice, the area for game driving is really great, and the chances are, it doesn't matter what you see. I once spent 2 hours with lions right close to the camp and there was nobody else there. So you're going to have a very exclusive feeling while you're there if you self-drive. You can also do game drives from the camp. So guided game drives, you just go to reception, organise them, pay for them separately, and you do guided game drives as well. So they're great, and they're usually, depending on what's there, not that crowded because it's a smallish camp. So pros are it's nice and quiet, great game viewing. On the con side, there's only one type of accommodation. They've got the chalets and then they've got luxury chalets. And the difference between the chalets is the luxury chalets, of which they only have 2, I believe, have a private plunge pool outside the chalet and the best view of the waterhole. Interior of the chalet is pretty much the same. So there's no camping or any other types of accommodation. There's nowhere to cook for yourself, so you have to rely on the restaurant food for breakfast, dinner and evening meal. There's no shop there, but there's a little souvenir shop, but not a shop like for buying food or snacks or things like that. And you do have to walk to and from the rooms to everywhere. So mostly positive, and the service there is generally very nice. So that's Dolomite, extreme west-hand side of the park.